Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Living Critically. I'm Mama Atheist, and tonight we have a very special guest, Robert Reed. Hi, Robert. How you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. Dealing with being locked down as we all are, and the craziness that's happening in our country, but trying to
Oh yeah.
do the best we can with what we have, right?
As we all are. As we all are.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
A little bit about me. I have spent almost all, the exception of a handful of months here and there, as a black guy south of the Mason-Dixon line. Was brought up incredibly religious, fundamentally so. Six-day creation, you name it, they shoved that crap into my head. I bought it hook, line, and sinker without questioning. And finally, really long story short, at 39, I just dumped it all. It just stopped making sense. And so here I am, almost a decade later, a full-fledged atheist.
So tonight's topic is about religion and sports. So if you weren't, if it wasn't until you were 39 that you decided that you didn't believe anymore, then during your entire football career, you were a believer then.
I was a believer. And that being said, I was a believer that still had a shit ton of questions. And that me and my big sister hold, at least at that point, the distinction of being the first two people to get kicked out of church because we just wouldn't stop asking questions. She was the first because when they said it's time to bow your head and pray, she would always say, well, what if someone prays by dancing? What if someone prays by slaughtering goats or burning a fire? She just wouldn't stop. And so they kicked her out. And then my incident was when it was time to talk about Noah's Ark, the first thing I asked about was, what about all this poop? And they said, well, they threw it out. I was like, well, it still doesn't make sense. So you throw out the elephant poop. By the time you get back, the other elephant has pooped, along with all the lions, tigers, bears, and everybody else. So they kicked me out. That being said, I was still a believer all the way up until 39. But even when I played football, and we said the Lord's Prayer, and when I played college football, we had a priest on retainer. Wow. And even then, I was just like, well, what if someone doesn't believe like we do? But it's kind of like being the one person in a Klans meeting who doesn't think that blacks are inferior. You're not going to speak up.
Yeah.
Right? And so while we went and did our pregame prayer and a couple of guys were outside the locker room not praying, I always wondered, what about those guys? So no, I was fully invested when I still played, but I still had questions and I still wondered about the other guys.
I was raised Roman Catholic, although I told this story before. I never really believed, but I was the same way. As I had so many fucking questions. It did not make the Sunday school teachers or the priests or anybody happy. They did not. You have to wonder when an organization, whether it be a religion or anything else, doesn't like having to explain themselves at all, doesn't like having questions asked. There has to be an issue there, and that just brings about more questions. So
I always wondered because, I'm 48, and this was long before the internet. And so I always wondered about today's kids, in that I had to ask, what about, and they could easily brush me off. But every kid is an investigative reporter. This is a dinosaur of a phone. Your average 16-year-old has like your iPhone, whatever is, 14, whatever is the newest. You can just ask your iPhone. So I've always wondered how today's kids, especially today's athletes, because I still kind of keep up with my old high school, and it's the same thing from when I played. We were very successful, so no one ever questioned. In my 3 years as a high school football player, I went to 2 state finals and 1 semifinals. In my, I don't know how many games that was, but I only lost 3 games as a high school football player. So no one ever bothered to ask any questions. But our practices were church sermons, right?
Yeah.
We had to memorize all the things that the Apostle Paul said, because I still remember Coach Rutledge told us Paul was an athlete. And so if we're like Paul, we will be successful on the football field. We were successful, so clearly God. So yeah, you never thought to ask questions about that.
No, and you mentioned having the internet and it being available to any kids that may have questions about it. And while a majority of that is good, there's also the problem too if they stumble upon the wrong site or the wrong group of people, and they find themselves going down a path of being indoctrinated in that own way. Say if you have a question about Noah's Ark, one of the first things that's going to pull up is AIG.
Right.
And that's not exactly, scientific at all. But if you continue to go down that path, you're not exactly getting the right information or real information at all. You're getting indoctrinated. So.
But again, for a guy who was born in 1972, pardon me, I promise that was not a COVID cough. It's I think today is the first day of summer here in Austin. And so my trees are literally just raining yellow and brown stuff. So this is allergies. I swear I'm not sick. But even if you look up stuff on the internet and you see AIG, Frank Turk, or anyone else who spouts, nonsense, there's still going to be 700 other hits that are going to, I'm not even going to say disprove AIG, because they haven't proven anything. Yeah. They're just asserting a hot steaming pile of monkey shit. And so I would hope that today's kids, when they ask Siri, how old is the earth? And she says, 13.5 billion years old, but Kim Ham is saying, 6,000. I hope today's kids get more of a balance of information than what my generation had.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So like I said, our topic for tonight is to do with religion and sports. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in sports, the teams you played for, and how long you played for them?
Yeah, certainly. Again, my high school program was incredibly successful. We kind of set the standard. My junior year in high school, we were the number 2 ranked football team in the entire United States. We didn't suck. I'll just say that. My senior year, we put, I think it was 11 guys into college football. We were incredibly successful. From there, from high school, I came to Austin and I played at the University of Texas at Austin. I made All-American at a school that in the 60s told my father, who was literally a genius, we don't accept black players. And so I went there and I didn't suck. And then I went on to play in the NFL and the CFL. The NFL was short-lived. The CFL left a lot to be desired, as we won 1 game that year. But every single step that I took, football-wise, God followed. And when I say God followed, I should say God led and football followed. It was not even a topic of discussion. So, I mean, I remember lots of team meetings that would end in prayer, where we literally talking about how we were going to line up against this football team. When are we going to blitz? When are we going to run the toss sweep? What are we going to do on special teams? And we would end the meeting and coach would say, just pick some random guy and be like, okay, close this out with a prayer. And no one would ever ask John or me or Richard or anybody else, hey, by the way, do you believe in God? That was never even a question. They would literally just pick one guy out and be like, okay, close the meeting out with a prayer. Even in the NFL, for my very short-lived career, it was no different. I lockered across the locker room from Irving Fryer. Irving Fryer was an ordained minister and an incredible NFL talent. And it was just a given that Irving was going to pray and we were all going to hit our knees, but no one ever asked, does anyone here not believe in the Christian God? Is anyone here a Muslim, a Jew, an atheist? And so it was, even then when I believed, there was still kind of that, why? Yeah. Mm-hmm. If it was a private issue, then I don't think my eyebrow would have raised any, but no one ever asked. Is everyone okay with this?
I actually I wore my my alma mater shirt for you today, U of A, because I was thinking
Arizona.
Yes, I was thinking back to when we would go to football games and we would see the team sit there in prayer, or they would all kneel around in prayer beforehand. That always really kind of bugged me. And we didn't have a football team in my high school. I'm from New England, a small town in New England, so football is just not really big there. I've noticed it's a huge deal here in the South, but not so much in the North. So, being a blue state and tiny town, we didn't have football, and it certainly didn't put religion into anything. But I've noticed, especially with football, and it's much bigger in the South in America, that whether it be high school, college, or beyond, there seems to be this connection between specifically Christianity and the sport as well.
Oh yeah. Now that I'm kind of out of it, not kind of out of it, I'm totally out of it. Now I see it for what it is. And it's like, damn, right? I remember when we were talking all this shit about like Colin Kaepernick and, leave politics out of sports. I just want to enjoy the game. Mm-hmm. And then someone throws the game-winning touchdown. And right after the game, they don't thank their offensive coordinator. They don't thank the defensive back for slipping and falling so he can throw first thing is, I just want to give, thanks and praise to Jesus Christ, because without Jesus Christ, and I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah.
So it's just, now that I'm on the other side and I'm sitting there thinking about all the interviews I cut, I always hope, God damn, I hope I didn't sound like that. But I very rarely go to football games. I can't stand live football. But the few times I've gone and you sit there, at least at UT, they play the Eyes of Texas fight. Those kids run out. We have this $20 billion jumbotron that's the size of my house. It's incredible. And then all the players sprint to the end of the other end zone, and everyone takes a knee to pray. Mm-hmm. And everyone thinks that's great. And the first thing I think of is, what if 75 football players ran to the end of the other end zone, pulled out Muslim prayer rugs, got on their knees, faced east, and prayed to Allah?
Yeah.
How
well.
Exactly. And so it's
a perfectly good segue, because something I wanted to bring up was, when you think of a really religious person in football, what name comes to mind?
Tim Tebow.
Exactly. Someone who would put his
John 3:16 under each one.
Mm-hmm. And when his team would celebrate in the end zone after a winning game, he would quietly step to the sidelines and kneel. But that was, he made it really obvious. He was purposely taking himself outside of his team to do something so people would look at him and see that. And then for him doing his stupid, whatever he did whenever he would get a touchdown or whatever, they called it Tebowing.
Tebowing, yep. I remember.
I don't even remember what it was. What did he do exactly?
So I can't even get up right now, but he'd get on a knee and kind of do the thinking man's pose, except it wasn't under the chin, it was on his, and it was, Tebowing. While everyone else was spiking the football, he was giving thanks to Jesus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I definitely remember that.
And when he would help a teammate score, he would point skyward to God, and just bringing so much of that into a game that is, like you mentioned before with Kaepernick, people don't didn't want to bring too much politics into football. Well, I think religion just doesn't belong there at all. Why are you, pushing this on everybody that's watching? And yet so much of America got behind him and praised him for his love of Jesus. And I'm not a big football fan myself, but that was something that I knew about because they made such a big deal about it.
Oh yeah. I still remember it was when Newt Gingrich. So how many presidential cycles ago that was? But I remember watching, because I hate myself, the Republican debate. And of course, as usual, with the exception of this last one, because the only good thing I'll say about Trump is, he has exposed the religious right for the fucking hypocrites that they are. You elected a man who, under any other circumstances, you would say is the most ungodly person on the planet. Mm-hmm. But I remember, Gingrich, of course, they always brought up religion, and he said something along the lines of, if you don't have faith, how can I trust you with power and all this other shit? And the crowd went nuts. And I'm like, if you have your hands on the nuke codes and you're the most powerful person in the country, I don't want you talking to an invisible man in the sky, right? Yeah. And so it crosses over into every other aspect in our life, including sports. And I remember watching a UFC fight. Now, this is two guys who are just going to kick the shit out of each other. Last man standing is the best person. Yeah. I'm trying to remember how it happened, but it was a knockout. And I think one guy kicked another guy in the face, hit him right in the temple, and the other guy just dropped like a sack of bricks. The winner got on his knees, and I'll never forget, he pointed to himself and was like, no, not me, not me. God. Yep. I was like, wait, hold on. So right now, there's a kid praying for food because he hasn't eaten or she hasn't eaten in a week. God ignored that. Right now, there's a Catholic priest, pardon the reference, raping yet another child. That child is begging for God. Nowhere to be found. But you know where God was? He was in fucking Las Vegas, Nevada, while a guy got a $25,000 check for kicking a man in the fucking face. And like, no, not me. No. That's Jesus. That's no, not me. I'm like, yeah, this is what makes your God look like a fucking asshole. But in sports, you cannot go one foot in front of another without having God with you. You just can't. Yeah, and I almost hate to say this out loud. I think we will have a gay professional football player who's out there, who's the best quarterback in the league, the best whatever in the league, before we have an atheist, to be honest with you. Because again, it's just a foregone conclusion. You're macho, you're straight, you fuck a different girl every night, and on Sundays, you're in church. It's not even a question. You don't even ask about it.
The same goes with politics. It's so hard to be, an open secular person and be in politics in America. It is just not accepted. Right.
What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say what Sam Harris said a while back. And just that it's how many secular people, how many humanists have been left out of the political race? Because again, I think he said you could have like Oprah's charm, Michael Dell's money. He just ran down this list of superlatives. But he's right. The moment you get on a political stage and you say, I don't believe in God, you have effectively executed all your political aspirations.
Yep.
Right. And if you don't get up there, Hillary Clinton, who had plenty of bruises beforehand, she didn't have the best resume, at least in my opinion. But she got up there and she had to sit up there and say she believed in God. Trump had to say, if you ask me, Trump's a fucking atheist. He's too egotistical to think that there's something above him. But he had to even toe the line. So just imagine how many people, you couldn't be your kid's PTA president, much less the president of the United States, if you don't believe in a God. So the God thing isn't just sports; it's in every aspect of our life.
Yeah, and Trump is like the least Christian, person that you can think of, but because he toes that line in his politics and will support things like, he will support everything from the far right, like pushing to get rid of Roe v. Wade, even though I guarantee you that man has paid for more abortions than he's had fingers on his hand. And he, knowing that that's his base and that's who will listen, he will push their rhetoric and therefore is considered Christian to them. And that's really disheartening. But that thing he did with the, holding up the Bible and he's so outwardly awful, and yet they will overlook all of it because he pushes their agenda. That is totally fucked.
But to me, that's kind of not just religion, but that's the religious in general. And just that, as long as you say things that I like, you're on my team, and I will defend you to hell and back. Right? I mean, as much as I hate to bring her name up, have you interacted with SJ? You know what I'm talking about?
She blocked me.
Good. You're lucky. I finally blocked her. It just she's garbage. And what got me was my first debate on modern day debate. And there was a lady on the other end of it who was just a piece of shit. There's just no nice way to describe this person. She was garbage. And I'm being nice when I say that. Long story short, SJ invited this person on her channel and introduced her as, I saw this person on a debate with two atheists and I thought she did a great job. Only because she said the Christian shit that Christians like to hear. So again, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do wrong. As long as you say atheists are bad, they're, they have no morals. They went from fish to philosophers. They all believe in evolution, whatever the fuck. As long as you say the right stuff, the Christian will be on your team.
Yeah.
And that's what SJ was. Right.
Pushing their rhetoric and they'll be on your side.
And that's Trump. I promised you. And I wouldn't have to bet you a dime. 5 years ago, before he was even a political candidate, that guy had never set foot in a fucking church before in a day in his life. And you're right. That guy has spent, again, part of the crassness, that guy has spent more money on abortions than I make in a year. I promise you that. But he says what you have to say to be in favor with Christians. Right? I remember watching, because when you told me what the topic was, I remember, I'm trying to remember his name, but he played for the New York Giants in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And he said exactly what I just said now, in that here's a room full of professional athletes. The poorest person is making $1.5 million a year. We're sitting in a team meeting talking about, let's just say, the Dallas Cowboys. How are we going to defeat the Dallas Cowboys? This is your job. This is your job. This is what you do for a living. You fill out your W-2. What do? I kick, I block, I tackle, I run, I throw. That's what you do for a living. And this guy was saying at the end of a team meeting, it's like, okay, we're going to kick the fuck out of the Cowboys. Hey, David, would you close this off in a prayer? And this was the one guy who said, I'm an atheist. And everyone on the team turned around and whipped their head like he just said, I rape billy goats.
Yeah.
And he just he said, I've never felt more uncomfortable. It's like, this is my job, right? If you worked at any place where there are cubicles, and if you started every work day with a prayer, you'd be sued into non-existence.
Yeah.
But athletics is absolutely positively the exception that proves the rule. And that be it basketball, hockey, you name it. It's just a given that you're going to close every team meeting with a prayer. You're going to finish every game off with a prayer. And God forbid you win the fucking game, you're going to go to the middle of the field with the opponent, and everyone's going to hit a knee, and everyone's going to pray.
Yeah.
It's just a foregone conclusion. You don't even talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know in a broad sense, we're speaking about faith and sports, but considering where we are, it's more, I wanted to talk more about the Christianity aspect of it, because that seems to be completely ingrained in American sports culture.
Sure.
And it will in the West really at all. And from what I understand is it starts with this movement in the mid-19th century, with this thing called muscular Christianity.
Mm.
And it has to do with the idea of kind of like your body is a temple, and that the stronger that you are, the better you can to fight for your belief and fight for Christ. And that's why a lot of how it connects between sports and Christianity, because it has to do with being, the biggest, the strongest, the toughest, which fits really well in whatever sports you're in, because that's the exact same thing. You want to be the biggest, the toughest, and the strongest. It was have notes here. Hold on a second. The person who started it, it was first discussed by Rousseau in 1762, actually, before it had become a thing in the mid-19th century. But that was when they talked about how physical education is important in the formation of moral character, which connects to Christianity itself, because you want to be the most moral you can for God. But it still harkens all the way back to Paul the Apostle, who had spoken about how being, in order to be a warrior for the Christian faith, you have to be incredibly strong and resilient and fight off the enemies of the church. And so in terms, as far as I can see, that seems to be the connection there, that, being this perfect example of an athlete, while is right for sports, it also seems to be perfect for Christianity as well. Because like I said, fighting for Christ and being, the best that you can for Christ. In America, it started coming through with things like Boy Scouts and the YMCA, who are both, although they don't technically say that they're religious organizations, they kind of are. And it teaches children from a young age to become these exemplary human beings in terms of sports and fighting for, their religion, for their beliefs. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. One, I learned something. Did you say muscular Christianity? Is that what it was called?
Muscular Christianity. Yeah, I had never heard of it either.
That's a good
one. Trying to look stuff up in terms of, because I played sports. I played, I was a gymnast. I played soccer and stuff like that, but I never anything on your level, and never really huge into sports as a kid. But I don't know as much about it. So I tried looking stuff up, and I just got inundated with all these interviews of football players and baseball players that just talked about how much they loved God. I tried you had suggested a real sports episode, and I looked for it and just couldn't find it. I looked through all of them that were available, but it was just all about, the specific players pledging their loyalty to Christ and how they would thank God for, their athletic abilities. Then I stumbled upon this muscular Christianity thing. So
okay, one, I'm definitely looking that up because I actually love that term. And two, I heard you mention the Apostle Paul, which is exactly what they shoved into our head. And it's probably my internet, but we're breaking up just a little bit. So I think I heard everything you said. But we were taught that God put us in this spotlight, not necessarily to succeed as athletes, but to glorify his name.
Exactly.
That is why at the end of every game, I mean, I hope I didn't do it, The first time I got named Associated Press Player of the, oh God, that was after the Texas Tech game, I think. God, that was so long ago. But that's when you were taught, as soon as they shove that microphone in your face, you don't say, man, I really worked out hard, or, you know, my mom and dad drove me to every football practice when I was a kid and they never missed a game. You were taught, this is when you glorify God.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's, you are, from day one, you are taught this is a platform not for you, not for the sport, not for anything. This is, you are only here to make tackles, get a microphone shoved in your face, and say, thank you, Jesus. Like nobody knows who the fuck Jesus is.
Yeah, right.
Why do you need a punk-ass 20-year-old kid to be your publicity agent? Right? You're supposed to be the greatest thing literally in the universe. But yet you need 20-year-olds to jerk you off and say your name after every game and practice. And yeah,
right.
you're definitely taught that this is not about you. This is about, again, it's like the guy who knocks it. I love to fight. I'm actually not bad at violence. But again, when you kick someone in the head and you cut off the blood flow to the rest of their body and they're laying there limp, and the first thing you do is get on your knees and you thank Jesus. If your Jesus needs a high impact sport where you literally knock someone the fuck out, give them brain damage, possibly kill them, and that's Jesus's way of glorifying himself, you need to check your Jesus. Right? He can make a lot better statements, like ending child rape in the Catholic Church. How about no woman ever has to come home and tell her partner, her kids, her coworkers, her friends, I have stage 3 breast cancer. That's a way better platform. But why you need some testosterone-driven kid? My only job, if I were to fill out a W-2 in the 90s when I played football, Robert, what's your job? To hurt that guy. And I'm not proud of it, I have literally felt someone's ribs crack when I hit him. I heard him cry before he hit the ground.
Wow.
I was such an asshole back then. I remember putting my hand on his body to help myself up. It made him cry even harder. Yeah. That's what I used to do. And that's what this Jesus is using me for. Yeah. There's something wrong with that.
Is this, what happens when you have two fighters that believe in the same Jesus or glorify the same God? And hell, every football team and every NFL team in America seems to be Christian. So how are they fighting against each other? I don't understand. There seems to be a bit of a problem here because you have one team glorifying the same God as the other. Right. So what is God a football fan and has,
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Because that's what we were taught. And allow me to speak as a former football player. When, let's say you're the person, part of the team that got just drugged through the, pardon me. Wow. I had wings before I got on. Belching up hot wings. They were delicious though, and I made them. Damn, I'm a good cook. But if you're the person on the receiving end of a 47-0 ass whooping, while the other team praised God, you praised God because this was all within God's will. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, again, even when I believed, I still had questions. I'm like, okay, God let you beat me by 47 points. I was supposed to learn a lesson from losing by 47 points, being humiliated in front of 100,000 people live and 100 million people watching me on ESPN. Is this the same God that's letting a child be raped by yet another Catholic priest? Because if there's a lesson to be learned at the end of a 47-0 ass whooping, what is that kid supposed to learn? So even while I believed, these were the questions that were going through my head. But yeah, you were taught that even in loss, God was right there with you, and he wanted you to. Matter of fact, Russell Wilson against who did he lose to the Super Bowl with? But he threw an interception right on the goal line, which killed the drive. They lost the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson said, God wanted me to throw that interception to teach me humility. I'm like, dude, how big is your fucking ego? Yeah. Of all the things going wrong in this universe, you actually thought God was in the fucking Super Bowl watching you, made you throw an interception so that you can learn a lesson? Your God's a dick. Right?
Yeah. So if your team loses against another team one season, say again 47-0 one season, but then you go to the next season, you play this team again, and it's the opposite. Are you led to believe that it is because you glorified him more, that you prayed better?
That you prayed better, not necessarily, but it was within God's plan. It was, oh shit. I'm trying to remember. Probably
so if it's all God's plan anyway, and he has everything worked out, the conclusion is already foregone, then what the fuck is the point of practicing or anything like that?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think my first major loss, and this is only okay because we're talking about sports, because I can promise you right now, no old athlete wants to be that guy who sits and talks about his glory days. But I think my first major loss was 1988, the state championship football game in high school. They kicked the shit out of us. Dallas Carter was probably, if you were to name the top 10 greatest high school football teams to ever play, this was probably number 1 or number 2. They had a guy on that football team that's now in the NFL Hall of Fame. That's how good this team was. And after they awarded us the title. That trophy is in the basement of my high school. But after the game, coach told us this was within God's will. There's a lesson to be learned. The reason why we played the state high school football game and got the fuck kicked out of us is because this is what God wanted. And I still remember tears coming down his face and all of our faces. Wow. I don't know what lesson that was, but everything, whether Dallas won or Converse Judson won, it was all within God's plan. And to this day, I'm almost 50 years old. I don't understand why you would say that. Just if I was a coach now, I would just say you got your ass whooped. Cry. It's going to be bad. We're going to be sad for a while. We'll come back next season and try and do better. But again, it's just egotistical to sit here and actually think that God had a 50-yard line ticket to watch a bunch of kids play football and decide the red team is going to beat the gray team because it's in my plan. And then at the end of the game, I'm going to make all of you sit in the middle of the because we played it in Irving, Texas, where the Cowboys used to play. I'm going to make all these kids get on a knee, hold hands, and glorify me when it's done.
Yeah, Lilith says we need to stop, or I need to stop thinking God can be rational, which, she's right. But I think the point is that, the people that the coaches and the people that run the teams and everything, and even the players seem to think that that's the thing, that there is rationality to God's plan in terms of sports. But that doesn't make any sense to me. Like you keep saying, with everything that's happening in the world, how can you sit there and think God is paying attention to this and God really gives a fuck? Especially when it comes to something like a high school football team.
Oh, yeah.
Why the fuck would God care?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, not even. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying be it high school football, college football, the pros, where, again, I don't know if people understand how this works. But when you hear about someone signing a $75 million contract, that's literally paid out over 6 months.
Mhm.
So once a week, you get a paycheck. And just divide that out in 52 weeks in a year. I'm so bad at math. But once a week, you're getting a lottery ticket and you're hitting the lottery. And it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Your God really gives a fuck?
Mhm.
Right?
And
it's
no offense to you as someone who is a football player and anything, but that's always kind of bugged me that, you know, people that work in the sciences and stuff that are doing everything they can to save the world or fight cancer and things like that, we don't get paid dick. But somebody who throws a football around, you know, and I understand it takes a lot of talent and everything, but it just, the same goes for the idea that God is paying attention. God doesn't seem to give a fuck about us in the sciences trying to work to do what we do, but we're supposed to believe he's there watching the football games. So
I've always said, and can you see my homeboy's in the background? Can you see him?
Sorry.
Hi.
Oh no, that's
Sorry.
Okay.
He's fine. But I've always said, at least with athletics and money and academics, because my parents are retired educators, I always said, if you want to fix at least the education problem, pay teachers $50 million and pay quarterbacks $50,000.
Yeah.
That will solve everything. I fucking promise you. I promise you. But yeah, it's there's a huge ego that comes with thinking that whatever God you pray to really, and again, even as a college All-American, when I got into a football locker room in the NFL, holy shit, those guys earn every dime they make. I mean, when you turn football on Sundays, you're seeing 22 men on the field. Each one of them, I promise you, is obsessive compulsive to a point where you can't understand it. None of us can. Because while someone wants to go home to their wife and kids and so on and so forth, no, these guys are studying a playbook, and they've actually made the comparison. To learn an offensive playbook in the NFL is the equivalent of giving like 2 PhDs.
Wow.
It's hard work. It's fucking difficult. They earn every penny they make. And I will say that no matter what. But the ego that comes with actually thinking that God gives more of a fuck that Drew Brees throws a touchdown than a cancer researcher finding a cure to cancer.
Yeah.
Right. That's an ego that I just don't want to ever wrap my mind around, honestly and truly.
Like I said, I'm not discounting the amount of work that goes into playing, but it just that dichotomy never made sense to me. So, but going back to the muscular Christianity thing, what Paul used, he would use athletic metaphors to describe the hardships that Christians had to face during that time. And then it kind of evolved from there into, you know, being the fittest, best person you could be to fighting for Christ. In fact, the person who invented the modern day Olympics was a huge follower of muscular Christianity. And so you can see that in what they do. The glorifying of the sport itself is a mirror to him, the way he felt about glorifying Christ.
Right.
So.
Oh God, I'm still trying to remember. We had to remember it was called the Formula for Success. And it's a Bible verse. And apparently Paul said it. Something, I'm not all that I should be. It's going to kill me. Oh, man. But I've often wrestled because I love my former head coach in high school. There are things that he taught me in 1987 that in 2020 still apply to my life. And I get asked to talk at athletic banquets and stuff like that. And I still say the stuff that I was taught, as much as I hate to say it, over 30 years ago. But I've often thought, if I had a kid playing high school athletics and my son or daughter came home and told me this shit that, let's say, Coach Rutledge told me, what would I do? And as much as I hate to say this out loud, I would absolutely go to that school and tell that coach, you have to shut the fuck up. And it actually pains my heart to say that out loud, because my high school football coach is literally one of the greatest men I've ever met in my entire life. I would die for that man to this day.
Yeah.
But he broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a public high school, right? And when they take the property tax money, they never say, well, this is the atheist check. No, this is the Buddhist check. This is the Christian check. No, it all goes in the same bucket. And so if your school, your whatever's being run by public funds, it has to remain religiously neutral. And again, as much as it pains me to say this, if my son or daughter was being coached by a Coach Rutledge today, I would stand up and I would say something. And it hurts me to say that.
And you think that it has to do more with, I'm sure that he didn't really think, that he was doing anything wrong, mostly because it's just the way things are, especially in football below the Mason-Dixon line. It is such a marriage between, football and sports in general and religion.
No question. I really look back at those days. High school, college, and professional. It was, again, it wasn't even a topic of discussion. No one ever asked you, what do you believe? You just assume we were all on the same page. I went to a public college. You can make the argument with the hold on, don't move. Right. My killer cat. Come on, Copper. And even though the NFL is a private business, again, I had an ordained minister who led the team. And so it wasn't even a question. It was, we just finished practice. Everyone get on their knees. We just beat the New York Giants. Everyone get on your knees. There's an FCA meeting, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I would say 99% of everyone just showed the fuck up. It wasn't even a topic of discussion. And far forbid, especially in college during the FCA meetings, you were the one person who didn't show up. You got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, do you believe in God? It was, are you going to be a part of this gang? Because if you weren't a part of this religious gang, you were an outcast. And I still remember, because we used to call it shower power in college. We had these huge showers that you could put, I don't even think I'm exaggerating, 50 huge muscular men in. And we would all pack into the shower, get on our knees, and we would pray to God before we went out to the game.
That's fucking nuts. No offense.
And I still remember one person in particular, whose name I won't say, but he never went into the shower. He never participated in shower power. And every time we walked out to go play whatever school, and we didn't suck as a college football team, we would normally win. But every time we walked out, I'm still looking at that guy's face. And we all looked at him like he had just finished raping a 3-year-old while we were in the shower praying. And I look back and I was like, fuck, I was a part of that. And we always looked at this guy like he was crazy. And I'm thinking, we were the crazy ones.
Yep.
We legit spent 5 minutes in a shower, not praying to end world hunger, cancer, no more sexual violence. We prayed that we would win.
Yeah. And put all that effort into it.
When we walked out, we all looked at, let's call him John. And when we walked out of that goddamn shower, we all looked at John like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
So yeah, it almost goes beyond simply being religious. It's kind of like being in a gang. and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a group mentality thing where, everybody has to agree to the same thing. And
No question.
therefore, whatever the group is doing, no matter how nuts it is, it becomes the norm. And when you are outside of that norm, you're the fucking weird one, even
You
if
are.
you're the rational one.
And that's,
Yeah.
oh God, just sitting here thinking, 'cause I now with COVID, of course, there's no sports on TV. And so when you're sitting there just kind of channel surfing, looking for shit to do, I see my old games that I used to play in, and I'll walk like 3 to 5 minutes before I get bored shitless and I turn it off. But now that we're having this conversation, it kind of catapults me back to that time where it's like, I was definitely part of the problem because I was one of those guys who walked out of the shower and looked at this one guy and be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Why weren't you in there praying to an invisible man in the sky? Right? You just had 50 guys praying for victory. Don't pray for ending cancer. But let's go out there and beat Texas Tech because that's what Jesus wants. And we walked out of there and we always looked at that guy like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right? It's just a gang mentality. It's herd mentality.
If you want something, actually, I don't know if I learned this from you. I might have or I might not have. But if you want a replacement sport at the moment, have you heard of the marble racing? There's a Dutch guy that does marble racing.
No.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't for you. I wasn't sure if it was. He sets up like really intricate paths and stuff, and has a bunch of marbles that he just lets go, and they race each other, and they have it. There's even like MVP, like they're the same marbles every week. So you have people that root for a certain marble, and they have funny names and everything like that. It's really interesting. Look it up.
You know what? To kill the time during COVID, I will absolutely look it up because
it's fascinating. He worked so hard on it. So and I guarantee you those marbles are not praying to God. So
I was getting ready to say, are there any pregame prayers
nope.
after the marble race? Do the marbles get on their marble knees and thank God for beating the purple marble because the purple marble plays to the wrong fucking God?
Right? Oh, just straight fun science and marbles.
I will absolutely look that up.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the website and I'll send it to you.
Please.
I have a couple questions. B, who you know, you've been on the show a few times, wanted to know what pro teams you played for.
I was a Philadelphia Eagle for about that long. I backed up William Thomas. And when you back up, William Thomas was an all-pro. And when I got into the league, he definitely led the league for linebackers. He may have led it, but he led the league in interceptions for linebackers, which is huge because back when I played, people actually ran the ball. So this guy was amazing. And so basically my job in the 90s when I played for the Eagles was to make sure that Mrs. William Thomas had all the soaps, lotions. I bought breakfast. I was a nobody. So if you look me up, it's going to be the world's most fruitless search. And then I played for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 1997. I think that was. We sucked. So those were the teams that I played for professionally.
I guess God didn't love you enough. I don't know what to say.
God fucking hated me because let me tell you something. When I signed my contract, I signed it totally blind. I just wanted to keep playing football at the time. And everyone is, oh, you want to Canada? You're going to love Canada. Canada's and they love Americans. At least in the region where I went to, nothing could be further from the truth. I went to Hamilton, which is right above Detroit. And let's say I turned on my shower right now and just let it run for 30 minutes. Think about that humidity. Then let's say I went and ate 5 bowls of Wolf Brand chili, 6 cups of Folgers coffee, then took a massive shit in the exact same bathroom where the humidity. Now you have Hamilton, Ontario. That's what it was like. It smelled terrible. It was humid and it never stopped raining. And when everyone said, oh, they love Americans, they hated us. And they especially hated those of us from the South, because that's when Bush was in the White House. And oh my God, they ripped me a new one every day I went to work. It's like, this place sucks. So when they cut me, I was like, thank God. I can't wait. I was like, yeah, deuces. Is this a threat or a promise?
When people I meet, in this community that live all over the world, I get a lot of shit because I live in the South, even though I'm not from here. So I get that. People tend to, vilify the South, but there is kind of a reason for it, because I hate it here. Not a fan, not used to the Confederate flags everywhere and just the overall, I don't know, ignorance of so many people. And I think it's blown up more for people that live in other countries, that they see the South and just think, the backwoods banjo playing and your sister marrying shit.
But it's not too far from the truth. I mean, before I got on the phone with you, I was with Lilith, and it was like, how fast can you get out of the South? Or are you attached to living here? I'm like, when can you get me out of here? This place sucks. I am proud of my Southern heritage. I am. It's turned me into the man that I am today. But let's keep it real. The South is bass-ackwards.
Yes.
Right? I think it was maybe my second day at work in Canada. One of the athletic trainers put all of us rookies in a van and drove us to the doctor's office to get our preseason physicals. So she's being nice. She's shooting the shit. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? And I was like, hey, I live in Texas when I'm not, in Hamilton, Ontario. And then she just started to rip me a new asshole because Texas is a death penalty state.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't support the death penalty, but I'm lumped into that group because of where it is I live. And the South is just, we need another 9 hours to talk about how fucked up the South actually is. So
that will be our next show then.
And I would love to do it because, like I said, I would not trade my upbringing for anything. All the hardships, all the shit that I've seen and gone through, it's made me who I am. But if we were just going to keep it real, the South is bass-ackwards. I did a town hall meeting about 3 years ago in which we talked about removing the name Robert E. Lee off of an elementary school. I don't have a fear of public speaking, but if you were to Google search Robert Reed, Robert E. Lee, you will find my talk to that town hall meeting. My voice was shaking because I was about number 10 in line. And by the time I got up there, you would have thought we were talking about Santa Claus.
Oh, I know.
Right? It was like, oh, well, why do you want to remove it? He was such a great guy. And why do things have to change? And when I got up there, my voice was shaking. I was so angry I couldn't see straight. And I'm like, I live in a part of the world where we're going to glorify a man who, if he walked in the room during that debate, he would look at me and call me a nigger.
Yeah.
And I just had 11 people sit there and say how great of a person he was. And I was so upset that I was literally shaking. And I don't have a fear of public speaking. But the South is fucking terrible. And that actually goes back to what we've been talking about. Because I don't know how it is with my northern brothers and sisters. But down here in the South, sports and God walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
That is what you were taught from Pee-wee football, Little League baseball, soccer. I literally cannot remember a point where I put on a jock strap to do something athletic that didn't immediately follow, get on your knees and let's pray to God. That's just welcome to the South and welcome to athletics in the South.
Yeah, and the sports thing is such a bigger deal here too. Like I've noticed, people are so into the Bulldogs here. I think it's the University of Georgia or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Georgia.
But
Yep.
there's everybody flies their flags. You go to the CVS and they've got an entire aisle of just Georgia Bulldogs gear.
Oh yeah.
They're really into it. And that's not something we ever experienced. And we have great schools in Connecticut. We've got fucking Yale, for fuck's sake. But people didn't. We have the UConn Huskies, the girls team, basketball team, which is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
But that's
Gino.
Gino Oriama is.
Yep.
He's amazing. But we watch it during the season, and we cheer them on. But that's it. It's fucking part of the culture here in the South. It's so weird.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of glorifying, the really the traitors of the Confederacy, you've heard of Stone Mountain, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a half an hour up the road from me.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's fucking gross. And I've never, like I said, my friend Chris, atheist pastor, wants to make me a t-shirt that says I live in the South, but I'm not fucking from here, because I say it so often.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just something that I'm not used to, because the idea of glorifying these, they were traitors, but also being on their side and saying that what they did was okay. What, because you have family members that fought in the Confederacy? So fucking what,
Oh yeah.
So many people they glorify it here, and it's insane, and I don't understand it. But yeah, I would definitely like it if you came back and we had a discussion about how much the South sucks.
I would absolutely love it. And I'm trying. 1, 2. There were 3 schools that I played against who had the mascot of the Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you were to ask anyone who played against me, they would say 2 things. He played hard, but he played fair. I never took a cheap shot. I don't punch people in the dick. I play fair, but I also played very hard. That being said, every time I played against a mascot that had the Rebels, I went just about 1 inch further. So I'm like, wait, I have to spend 3 hours looking at the Rebel flag. Every time you score a touchdown, I have to hear the song Dixie. Are you fucking kidding me? Mm-hmm. Of course I'm going to body slam you. Of course I am. And so I got to get this out. So I remember playing a game against a team in high school still. It was a religious-based school, but it was also an all-white school. It's called bulletin board material. So if I'm going to play you, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to play Momma Atheist hard. To the echo of the whistle, I hope I beat her. That's all you say. Mm-hmm. Bulletin board material would be, you know what? She's a bitch. Fuck her and her when it gets personal, we put that on the bulletin board so that you can get extra motivated to kick the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. Where I went to high school was majority black. It leaked out, and it was true that they said, when we're done with my high school, there's going to be nothing but watermelon seeds and Jerry curl juice. Jerry curl. Just to let you know how old I am. Back when people used to wear Jerry curls.
I remember Jerry curls.
Yeah. We kicked the shit out of that team.
Good.
And that was the one time when it was like, okay, your team won, we lost. We're going to get in the middle. You're a pastor and our pastor. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer. We said no.
No.
Nope. Sorry. Remember when you said there's going to be nothing but watermelon seeds and Jerry curl juice? Now we just beat you 50. Matter of fact, that was the first time I got called nigger during a football game. And when I say I got called nigger from kickoff to the end of the that's 3 hours. And even while we were beating these fuckers, a Christian school, by the way, even though we were beating these fuckers by like 5 touchdowns, a guy would get in his 3-point stance. Oh, you fucking nigger, you nigger, you nigger, you nigger. I'm like,
wow.
are we looking at the same scoreboard?
Yeah, right.
There's 4 minutes left. We're beating you by like 50 points, and you're still calling. Okay, let's do it. And so, yeah, it's the South is a very strange and disgusting place, and yeah, sports and God down here walk hand in hand. And you and I won't be alive to see this shit end. We just won't.
Fortunately, we won't.
We will not.
One more question from the chat. My friend Brainbug wants to know if you're going to do any more debates. He said he really loved you on Modern Day Debate.
That was my first debate.
Do you think you'll do more?
I will do another one, and I'll just say her name. If Godless Girl is not on the other end, yes, I will. Because she turned that debate into one big fucking dumpster fire. It's just I'll do another one.
One-on-one. Why do you need someone else with you?
Say that again.
Why don't you do it one-on-one with someone instead of having another atheist with you?
I would love to, but here's the thing: Godless Girl was against me.
What?
Exactly. So when we dialed in, she and I were the first ones there. I thought she was on my side because it was, I think the topic of the debate was something along the lines, is anti-theism rational? And so I just saw it with the name Godless Girl. Oh, clearly this is my debate partner.
Mm-hmm.
Those 5 minutes in the pregame show were so uncomfortable. The first thing I thought was, how can I get this person on my side? There was no chemistry.
Yeah.
And then when we kicked off, it was me and Amy, another anti-theist, versus Godless Girl, who's an atheist who hates atheists, and a Christian. And let's say you and I are having a disagreement. I don't like pineapple on pizza. You love pineapple on pizza. Mm-hmm. Then a third party comes in and just throws this bomb that says, you know what? Fuck wetbacks. Now we're having to discuss what this idiot said versus pineapple on pizza. That's what Godless Girl was like. It was just a dumpster fire. So to answer that, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. To answer that person's question, forgive me. I would love to do another. Yes, I would love to do another debate, as long as I'm not partnered up or going up against someone whose only mission is to kick shit up. I'm too old and too tired for that shit.
Who would be the person you would want to debate the most?
You know who I would love to debate? Jeff Durbin. Jeff Durbin. You've heard Cy Tim Bruggencate talk?
Yeah.
Jeff Durbin is a less angry version of Cy Tim Bruggencate. And it's my issue with Durbin and all the debates or discussions I've heard him do, like Cy, he never talks about the issue. It's let's say the topic is rape wrong. Durbin, like Cy, spins off into another arena and is like, well, you don't have a basis to say that rape is wrong. And then he builds on that. And I've yet to see anyone take him down on the base level. Because all he does is assert, your worldview can't account for rape being wrong, but he never asks the other person, what's your worldview? Yeah. And so I would love to debate Jeff Durbin. And also he's a black belt like I am. So it's Sifu versus Sifu. I would love to debate. He's the only pre-sup that I would debate.
If you ever set that up, Math Pig is a pretty decent moderator, so you could always do that with him.
I will. How about this? I will find Durbin after this on Twitter, if I can. I will shoot him a DM, but I would absolutely love to debate Jeff Durbin just to see if I can.
All right. Well, I'll be there for that.
Solid.
I'd love to do that too. Wrapping things up, the last thing I wanted to talk about was your personal channel that is pretty new. And is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's very okay.
You want to tell us really quickly what your goal is with that? Because I love it and really respect what you're trying to do.
Thank you very much.
The fact that someone as strong and outspoken and intelligent as you is okay with speaking about mental health issues, I think that puts people on a level playing field and is, I really respect that. So
thank you very much. Yeah, my channel is called Stronger with Robert Reed. There are no debates. It's just me talking about. My first episode was my travels with mental health, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and so I don't know. No, I don't think anyone knows. While I was in the side chat, I had Peter and Lilith with me, and I mean, I'm getting emotional now. I cried because it's hard to hear yourself say certain things about yourself.
Yeah.
And so my channel's only mission statement is to bring awareness to mental health. Because again, like I said in that first one, we tell cancer patients that they're brave, and they are. We tell people with mental health issues that they're crazy, and that's fucked up. So my only mission with that channel is to bring awareness to mental health. And I've got 2 more scripts set and ready to go. And by scripts, I mean very rough outlines. But the next 2 issues that we talk about are going to be hard as shit. And yeah, I just hope someone gets something out of it.
No, like I said, the fact who you are and the notoriety that already comes with who you are and the strength that you show already, but being able to come out and say these things and break yourself down and talk about these issues and say, there's nothing wrong with this. We all have problems and it's okay. It's not our fault. It gives a voice to other people. It really does. The same with my friend B, who's done her channel as well. Her channel deals a lot with mental health issues. And I think that's really important, is just putting it out there and being able to have open and honest discussions about this instead of continuing to allow the stigma to surround mental health issues, because that's not helping anybody. That's only making the situation worse. So I made sure to have your links in the description and stuff. So anybody who isn't subscribed to his channel, it is brand new, but he's just, thank you. I was there when you premiered your first episode, and it was so brilliant and so strong. And I spoke to you about it afterwards, and I know that it was hard for you. That you had, it was hard for you to even watch your own premiere because you had taped it before. But the fact that you're putting this out there and you're breaking down these barriers and you're trying to blow apart the stigma that surrounds it, fuck me, dude. It's awesome. And thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
You're amazing.
Thank you very much. And kind of on a lighter note. So my homeboy in the back there, where the fuck is he? Yeah. So a while back with the whole COVID, the backlog, I went about a week without one of my medications. My world is big. Like right now, I can tell you a grasshopper just ripped a fart in the corner of my yard, and I pick up everything.
Yeah.
I went about a week without one of my medications. And I was pacing my house. He was in the kitchen, and I asked him to take his shoes off because I could hear his feet on the ground. Right? And and I apologized the next day, and he brushed it off and was like, "You couldn't have asked for a better friend." But mental health is only funny when it's on the movies, right? You see someone is like, "Oh, that's just a quirk," but when you live with it, when you live with someone who's got it, you get to see the not funny parts, the not sexy parts. I've had people watch me cry for hours for no fucking reason. I've had people around me when the mania hits, and I haven't slept literally in 72 hours, and all I can do is get on the floor with a toothbrush and clean my baseboards. So I mean, it's like I said, if my channel reaches anybody, just to let you know, hey, I'm just as fucked up as you are. And so if it starts a conversation, great. And that's really the only mission of that channel. If to reach maybe one person, and again, if one person didn't have to go the same road as I did, great. That's mission accomplished.
We don't need to feel alone, and we don't need to be ostracized because so many of us suffer from this. I have chronic pain, which affects me in many ways, and I also have depression that goes along with that. But I know what you mean about blowing up at your roommate over something stupid, because with my boyfriend, I find myself, like, when the pain gets really bad, I know that I'm being a bitch, and I'm not trying to, but it comes out that way. To have someone there that will sit there and be like, it's fine, I understand, which is something I love about him. But surrounding yourself with people that get, we're not perfect, and to let you know that you're not alone, and something like your channel is letting a big group of people know that you aren't alone, that you don't have to deal with these things alone. And
no, you don't. And
I'm super appreciative of it.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and sneak in as much as I can before you hang up on me. But the chronic pain thing and the mental illness portion, I am definitely my father's son, and just a stubborn piece of shit. And I remember my last appointment at the pain management doctor's office was, at least the one that changed me. He said, every day that you're in pain, everyone who cares about you is in pain. Because he tried to get me on Vicodin for the longest. And I was like, fuck you. And I still remember when Sonny said, and I was married at the time, every day you're in pain, she's in pain.
Yeah.
Every day she has to help you off the toilet. Every day she has to help you pull your pants up. She's suffering too. And so, chronic pain, I don't think people quite understand what that can do to someone's mental state.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you use marijuana like I do now to kind of get yourself through the rough spots, Vicodin, hydrocodone, whatever the fuck, it definitely changes who you are.
Yeah,
so you hang in there.
Thank you. I've always been one to kind of try to hide it, separate myself from people when it got really bad, and that's something I'm learning with Math Pig, who's my partner. Is always like, you don't have to run away. I'm here for you, and regardless of how you feel, I don't care if you're crying, I don't care if you're in a mood, it's okay. And that's having a partner that will be there for you, and
no question.
It's helpful. It really is.
And congratulations to you. Because I've said this to other people, I say it to myself. When you're younger, you judge your relationships on, who invites you to their birthday party. How many people signed your yearbooks? I'm a lot closer to 50 than I am 13. You judge your relationships now on who's going to hold your hair while you puke and still call you sexy the next day, right? Who's going to watch you lay in bed because the pain is so bad that you can't get up in the morning and still say, baby, I'm not going anywhere. Right? What do you need from me? Right? And that's how you judge relationships now that we're on this side of 25. versus when we were younger. So congratulations on finding someone who's willing to deal with you when the shit is tough. Because I know where you're coming from, be it a mental illness standpoint, or again, when the pain is so bad, you want to saw off half your fucking body with a butter knife. And that person is like, you lay in that bed and you cry. I will take care of everything else. I'll do the cooking. I'll do the cleaning. You just let me know when I need to come in and give you a hug. That's how you judge relationships now that we're older. So again, fucking congratulations on finding someone, because it's not easy. So good on you, honestly and truly.
Yeah, I'm a very lucky lady. I have to say that.
Good for you. Good for both of you.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
I guess we'll wrap it up. Is there anything you want to shill or anything?
Nope. I think we got it all. Thanks for talking about my channel. Thanks for putting up with my homeboy in the back as he's sitting here cooking wet. I have no fucking clue, but he's the guy who put up with me when his shoes were making too much noise. So again, it's good to have people on your side who understand your issues. So yeah, it's all good.
So thank you so much for coming on and having this discussion with me. And like I said, I would love you to come on and let's talk about how much the South fucking sucks, because I could talk about that forever.
I was about to say, why don't we schedule about 19 hours?
Right?
So
you do a series on it.
About how much the South fucking blows.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Of course.
And thank you everybody in the chat for coming and joining us tonight. Thank you to my boyfriend Matt Pig for producing. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt Pig.
Just remember, everybody, think critically. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.